In a world where a man was so brave and so courageous that he walked downstairs and turned on some lights, then this man, this brave man, he talked into the camera and some people came eventually and he started talking to himself a lot. And then it kind of became a problem. And now here he is, the brave man. It's me! No music. Is this awkward? Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do the intro. And I keep on like thinking like eventually I'm going to make a new intro and it'll be really fun. And I love doing that kind of stuff. And then I lose track of time and I'm like, I have no time to make a new intro. And so then you get stuff like that. I'm so brave, guys. I'm so brave because I have a camera and a microphone, and I say things that no one else would possibly say, except for basically all of you. Just we come together on Mondays, and I'm the one with the equipment. So, welcome to Underdog Theology. I like doing my movie trailer voice. It sounds more like just like me trying to be a smoker, I think, at this point. But welcome. One man, one decision. Some of you guys know that bit. My name is Optimus Prime. All right, we're done. We're not doing that. Welcome to Underdog Theology, the show about a show that isn't really a show, where we talk about things that matter. And but still we have fun and we goof off. And if you don't like that, I don't know, go watch 1,000 other boring Christian channels. They're boring. You know they're boring. All right? If they weren't boring, they'd be on TV. But you know why they're not on TV? It's not because, Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn and all the charismatics, they own TBN. They wish they could be on TBN, okay? But they don't because they're boring. Because no one is entertained. They're edified. Sometimes. All right, we'll stop it. We're going to talk about the SBC today because it's happening. Mule Rider says that he was there. I saw it. Where'd it go? Yo, I'm at the SBC now. I don't mean to correct you, Mule Rider, but it's not a location because it's not a denomination. I need to get my Zoom back in. Let's do that. Let's make sure that we got that because I feel like we're going to use that today. Let's go Underdog Zoom. We'll do this, and you're going to have to just like bear with me for a minute. Like, just chill out, okay? We're making some things live, okay? And we're going to call this Underdog Zoom. And I got to program it. Just wait. Stop freaking out, okay? I know you're busy and you're like, oh, what's up with this banter? And he's like, not prepared? No, I'm not. Just chill out. I gotta fix this. I gotta make this real quick. I gotta add this. I gotta not show hide overlay. Where's the run scene? There it is. We're gonna do that. And 10 of you have left because you're like, why would I stay for this? You know what? That's okay. That's okay. I understand. I'm not too offended, but I'm a little offended. A bit offended. All right, sweet. Now we can do that. Awesome. Now we can go like this, and then I can say something funny and be like, duh. It's for kicks and for some giggles. We got some people hanging out, though. We got Skeletal Remains, who's always here. Howdy, everyone. Hope you're doing great today. Or good. Not great. That's too bad. Skeletal Remains doesn't want you to have a great day. Just a good day. Salt and Light says hi. Secundum is from the future. From the future. Do we got robots up there? I want some robots. Robots? All right. I just got home from grocery shopping. We'll be listening while I put stuff away. It's multitasking. That's multitasking. That's cool. I can't do that. Aaron says, good afternoon, Underdogs. So professional. Stephen says, hey, are we go for launch? We did. We launched, kind of. Someone argue whether we did or not. And some people are still here being like, it is 8.5 minutes into the stream and he hasn't said a thing about the SBC. Except it's non-denomination. Oh, whoops, I did that. What's up, Mrs. Creole? Larry is here and says, hi, y'all. Actually catching another live. Cool. No doubt. I'm predicting the SBC is being very, very normal at their get-together. Yeah, no weirdness to be had at all. Everything is fine. Move along. It's okay. I'm finally on summer break, y'all. At least until summer school starts. He's crying. This is dear summer school. These kids were trying me all year. I bet. What's up, Rick? Mule Rider says, just sat in the NAMB lunch. We had Michael Jr. and Stephen Curtis Chapman for entertainment. What? Who's Michael Jr.? That's how far out of it I am. Who is that? Stephen Curtis Chapman. Oh, I know him because, I live out loud and I don't care what anybody says. I'm diving deep. What's happening? Yeah, a lot of people were confused with that opening. What is happening? Is this another great Monday with the Underdogs? Question mark. She put some exclamation points, but for comedic effect. Gonna have way too much fun with that today. That's right. I am so brave. Thank you for acknowledging that. I'm SBC, but not a member. The annual meeting should probably include a discussion of what they're responsible of what their response will be as a group to current events beyond the church walls. That's very serious and very true. And we will get into it once I'm done goofing off. In a world, kind of great. I wish I could be in that world. Thank you. So many people supporting my bravery. I appreciate it. Hey, Callie. Hello, beautiful weirdos. I remember that one. Been a while. Hope you're doing well. Underdogs preach out. In, we want to preach in. We want people to come in. We don't want to preach out. We want to preach them in. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. Already got a picture with Dr. Ed Romine. I'm pretty confident that's easy to do. I think Ed is just rolling around the halls. He's just taking pictures with everyone. At least that's what I'm assuming. That's the kind of person he seems to be. He is a bridge builder. He builds all the bridges and he takes pictures in front of those bridges. I've seen so many pictures with him and Joe. Ha 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 ha. 1,000 boring Christian channels. Well, it's true. Like, people get mad at me for it, but show me one that's entertaining. Okay? Show me one that isn't like, I'm trying to be the Daily Wire. As if that's entertaining. By the way, Dean, I taught that class on the history of the fundamentalist movement and how it was destroyed by legalism I told you about. Thanks for your material. I gave your channel a shout out. Boom! That's how we do it. That's how we do it up in her. But that's sound effects are locked. Why would we mute the sound effects? Good. Some of you guys were like, I could barely hear that. I know. I hope Indiana wins this chip for your sake, Dean. It's not like if both teams would lose, could lose, I would be okay with it. Like, am I rooting for Indiana? Yeah, because I hate OKC. My wife was so shocked. All right, we'll talk about the basketball and then we'll get into the SBC stuff. So hold off for about like a minute and a half, okay? My wife had never seen me so animated during a game as game one. All right, when was that? That was Thursday night. Because with about like 4 minutes left, I realized what was happening. And I started freaking out that Indiana was coming back. And my wife was sitting next to me. She was watching some show on Netflix or something. And she had the iPad. And she put the iPad down and just watched me. Because I was just like freaking out. Like, I got up, started yelling, started pacing as it was like starting to really happen, and just like I was so thrilled that Indiana beat OKC in game 1, and I know they lost last night, but like, you can't win them all. Hopefully they just win 3 more. That would be great. Not OKC. I'm definitely doing good, not great. I hope you're doing better now that we pointed it out, and we could all point out how you're feeling. It's just, sometimes I'm like, well, should I put things up? I don't know. Where in the Southern Baptist world is Carmen Sandiego? That you got the reference. That's immediately what happens for me. I, for one, am shocked that there is chaos at Christian Land Virtual Theme Park. There's not that many. I don't know. Hide viewer count, Dean. Also, sweet hat. I don't know how to hide a viewer count. There's 61. I don't know. I don't know how to do anything about it. Best thing about Canada, the Raptors. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool hat. All right, we're moving on. Let's talk about some stuff. First, I have to find something because I was gonna do something really funny before, and then I switched it out for my little cold opening of stupidity. But we're taking a look. We're taking a look. There it is. All right. We found it. Don't worry, everyone. Don't worry. I found it. We're only going to have to watch 36 ads because even though Founders has donations coming in like crazy, you could look it up. Their revenue has gone up from like $300,000 a year to $1.9 million over the last like 4 years. That's a thing. You could look it up. But even though that's happened, Founders still has like the most commercials for anything I've ever seen on YouTube. I don't know how they did it. They had a deal with YouTube. They like went into YouTube headquarters. Askell was like, "Hey, you guys, I'm gonna trademark that y'all been played thing or we've been played thing. So if you want to use that play button, you got to give me more ads, get up some revenue." So they have like 1,000 ads on pretty much everything that they do. I'm vamping while the ads are playing because I don't want to display everything about there because they have songs. Come on, Founders, every time. I have to like record these things, which is annoying, in order to show you anything from them. But are you serious? This is what happens, all right? It was at the end of what I watched. I put it back at the beginning so we could start watching it together. Another ad. So again, like, I'm serious when I say it's unlike anything I've ever seen on YouTube. Founders, they like their monies. All right, let's take a look at what Founders says is the big issues going on in the SBC, and then we'll talk about some things, some sad things, some things that are necessary. Let's hear what they have to say.
Company. Today, Pastor Tom and I want to have a discussion about the Southern Baptist Convention, which is coming up in about a week or so in Dallas, Texas. And so always an exciting time. Tom, what are you looking forward to?
Well, Founders are going to have a booth there, so I'm real excited about that. And we're going to be announcing some things about Founders Seminary that will be opening its doors August the 11th. And Vody Balcom will be there as well for that. So we're really...
You guys will see Vody? You guys like Vody? Come on over.
Excited about having Vody on the ground with us. He is the founding president of Founders Seminary. So people will want to come by the booth, look for the Founders booth. Usually we're tucked away in the corner somewhere in the back, but just come find us, and we want to tell you about the Institute of Public Theology and Founders Seminary. At the convention itself, it's a business meeting. People forget that, and there are some items of business that we need to deal with, some that we've been talking about here for a while, and especially over the last few years, is the law amendment that is doubling down on what the confession already says of the SBC, the Baptist Faith and Message, as well as changing our Constitution to say only qualified men can be pastors of Southern Baptist churches. The abolishment of the ERLC, which I think is going to happen this year, and then calling for transparency. So those are three big things that I'm going into the convention knowing that these are going to be topics of conversation, and I hope they'll go well for the sake of the health of the SBC.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly everyone goes into the SBC with plans, and there's different motions put forward, and there's different resolutions put forward, but nothing can be completely scripted. So you never know exactly what's going
Right.
to happen throughout those 2 days of the actual business meeting. So those are the 3 big ticket issues that everyone's really going to be paying attention to. But I'm sure there's going to be other things like resolutions that are going to come up that we're
Right.
going to have to be paying attention to as well.
Yeah, that's
So, for those who are not aware, the SBC annual meeting is happening right now, actually. Like Mule Rider's there. Cal says he was listening. Juan Sanchez. I love Juan Sanchez so much. He was great with the pastors' conference today. So, it's happening right now. Monday is the pastors' conference where they basically just preach. And usually it's some pretty good preaching. And then Tuesday is when they have their worship service for the United States. And then when they're done worshiping the United States, then they start getting into business, uh, and it becomes a big old Baptist business meeting. And at this big old Baptist business meeting, they have a little bit of time. I think it's 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be paying attention to this, the introduction of new motions. And that's when they open it up to the floor. And this is probably the stuff that you might have seen, even if you're not paying attention to the SBC. You probably have seen some of the video that comes out from people going up to the microphone and saying, "Hey, I move that we do this," and they have this motion, and it has to get voted on, and then it gets brought through. And sometimes that motion actually gets dealt with. Even like it's odd. Some of the backroom stuff that happens, like they have to say whether they think this is in, you know, a friendly amendment. Sometimes, if something needs to be amended, they have this motions committee basically vote on everything and whether it's okay for people to vote on, and it's kind of odd. There's a lot of gears that are moving. Obviously, a huge institution. We're talking about 47,000 churches, lots and lots of people getting together, all trying to have their opinion stated for everybody. So obviously, it's a race to the microphone. Although Tom Askell wins every single time, it's kind of nuts. I don't know how he does it. Maybe he uses all that YouTube ad money and he just like pays people off to be able to like stand in line for him. I don't know how it works, whether there's no cutsies or anything in the SPC, but he always makes it. He always makes it to a microphone. There's always people there to represent him. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. He said something about the abolishment of the ERLC vote that he tried to do last year. That was kind of interesting, but we'll deal with that. But this is the big ticket items. All right, like there's other stuff that has to get decided. There's some really encouraging things that happen within the SBC every year. North American Mission Board sending out missionaries, super cool. Sometimes the people who get elected to things and people just appreciate the people who've worked so hard to get some of these things done at there on the floor. Like those are great things. The encouragement that happens in the hallways of people seeing each other, and it's a big old family get together. But some of the weird uncles, it's always the uncles, and they have some agendas. They have some agendas that they want to get done. And sometimes there's some normal uncles who step in and give some agendas. But a lot of times you hear some weird stuff, some really weird stuff from the microphone, because again, it's just a race to the microphone. So sometimes you get like that random guy who's in like, I don't know, some some corner of Kentucky, like just out in the woods somewhere, and he's finally made it to the big city, and here he is to say, this is what I think, and it's like crazy. But there's other guys like Tom Askell, like so many of these people who get up there and they're trying to put in a motion to save the SBC, and that's something that has been huge the last couple of years. Everything has become this line of separation, and for a long time, it was the issue of abuse. And like, what are we going to do about abusers? What is the proper way to handle the abuse? And obviously, they had like the Grant Gaines vote where Hannah Kate was with him, and they went to the floor and they said, "Hey, we need to figure this thing out. We need to have a third party investigation. Let's get going with that. We need to have a task force established." So much was said to be getting done in the SBC. Well, that was 4 years ago. And now, what has been done? There hasn't even been a list compiled. They already had that list, if you remember all the news about that. But they wanted to compile a new list, put that public. It ain't happening. The task force has essentially been ripped apart, sometimes from people on the outside, sometimes just from people getting burnt out. There's really only about like 20 different people, if you think about it, like this committee and everything, that were really pushing the ball forward. But when you think about thousands of people, not everyone in the SBC, quite a few people in the SBC, they voted for that task force, right? Like they voted for it because they cared about abuse. So there's quite a few people who cared about it. But you know how, like in a big business meeting, maybe you've been there. I think I've given this illustration a few times. But I've been in some business meetings that were about things that everybody was on the same page about. Like it's everyone knows that this thing is an issue and we need to deal with it. But all it takes is one or two people to kind of just steer the ship. Be loud, be vocal, and be aggressive. And all of a sudden, the timid people are like, well, maybe we should wait. If we're not all on the same page about this, maybe we need to figure out the best way to do that. So instead of doing a good thing, they decide to hold back and try to do the best thing because these other people said. Well, that's kind of what's been happening with abuse reform within the SBC, is that they've had people who are like, here's this good thing that we want to do. But you have vocal people who are very aggressive, and they've been loud at those microphones and on their podcasts and in the back rooms and all of that. They've been loud leaders saying, like, no, that's not the best way to handle this. Is this the company that you want to be able to tell us what to do about these issues? Do you trust them? Like all those kinds of things, and saying, no, we need to think about the best way to do that. Well, all that is really happening there isn't that a best way is being figured out. It's that we don't have to do anything. If you can punt the ball as far as you can deal with that problem later. And then all of a sudden later never comes. That's what's been happening within the SBC. So a lot of kind-hearted, patient people within the SBC who do care about abuse have been silenced by these people who say, no, that's not the best way to handle it. It's too expensive to do it this way. That company supports LGBTQ stuff. We can't be doing deals with them. And now all that's been happening is just silencing this task force, basically cutting off all of their avenues for being able to stand up for themselves. And so now you have basically nothing happening, which I think is interesting. All right, like those three things that he's talking about, the big issues, you realize what's absent from all those? Abuse. Because they don't even care anymore. Like these guys who said, like, let's wait. We got to think about this. We got to make sure that we do it the right way. You don't want to deal with abuse haphazardly, right? Well, now it's just not even going to be talked about. Because that's how these manipulators, and they are manipulators, these like they're swindlers. They go in and they swindle all these people, and they take advantage of their kindness and take advantage of just their desire for unity, and they manipulate. And that's what Tom Askell has done within the SBC. He tried to do it last year with running for president and Vodi Bakum running for vice president. Lost quite a bit, by the way. But now he's back to say these are the things that really matter, and abuse isn't even part of that. And I think that should show the people in the SBC, if you are part of the SBC, you need to really think through these leaders, even if you agree with like the 1689 A lot of my fellow brothers in the SBC, they're 1689 guys, and the founders has been supportive, obviously, of the 1689 and promoting that within the SBC. You need to look at your leader and say, okay, these are the things that he's actually caring about right now, and it's not even like abuse isn't part of that at all. And actually, as he's talking here, it's very clear that he is very much in the anti-do anything about abuse camp, because like the things that he's going to get into and how, oh, the SBC, we spent millions of dollars on abuse. Like in what a waste of money. Are you serious? Are you serious? Waste of money? Like these people's lives are a waste of money? And the way they talk about Hannah Kate as well, the weeping woman is what they call her. It's despicable. All these guys on this side who are so loud against any kind of abuse reform, and it's for the local church. Well, if it was for the local church, like within the SBC, y'all failed. Y'all need someone to come in and say, hey, clean up your act, because if we leave it to the local churches, it's just going to continue to be this way. And I thought that's what leadership was. Leadership was coming in, not saying, hey, you have to do it my way, but here's why. Here's why you should think about abuse in this way. And if they actually did have like a positive view of how to deal with abuse within the SBC, then why aren't they talking about it? They aren't talking about it because they don't care. Because they already won. The SBC abuse reform has lost. It's not there. There's nothing to be done about it right now. Because already these people have been too powerful and people have been too nice. Like I said it like 2 years ago. If you want abuse reform to survive within the SBC, you're going to have to get aggressive. And they didn't get aggressive. And so it hasn't survived. And when you're dealing with these kinds of wolves, no, I'm not talking about like false teaching wolves, just talking about ravenous people. Like if you're dealing with those kinds of people, you got to get aggressive. You're not going to pet them. They're going to bite. And the SBC, in large part, they petted him on the head and said like, well, I disagree, but petted him on the head. Well, they just bit. And now it's not even a talking point. Abuse reform isn't even a talking point in the SBC. It'll be interesting to see what's actually talked about from the platform and not just from the microphones about that topic, but I would expect that it's not going to be. And that's part of like this latest vote. I guess it wasn't Tom Askell, right? Like because Clint Presley got in. And Clint hasn't talked about it at all, right? Because he's all about unity, bringing people together. In other words, let's not focus on it. And let's focus on the gospel. Cool. But when the things that people are doing within the congregations are completely antithetical to the gospel, you might want to deal with that. But nope. We need to deal with these other three important things, according to Tom Askell. Let's listen and see what they are.
And I have not kept up with the resolutions. I don't even know if they released them or not, but they've started doing that a couple of years ago, I think. I'm not sure that's a requirement.
And Andrew Walker is chairing the resolutions committee. Is
That's
that right?
correct. Yeah. So the resolutions committee got an upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. That's certainly true. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, you know what? What Josh Bice did, that was, throwing people under the bus and, just slander. But, when Tom Askell jokes about how the last guy who chaired the resolutions committee wasn't good, that's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter.
But again, those three issues are the ones that we kind of want to talk about and address today. And just let you guys know what our thoughts are on those issues. And it's kind of easy to understand where we are and where we're coming.
And corral some votes in our way. Like we make sure that everyone's on the same page. Everyone watch the video so that you know how to vote.
But the financial transparency issue has been something in the convention for that Rhett Burns has been bringing up in the convention for a long time. I think for several years now, he's been bringing motions from the floor of the convention asking for 990 level audits of all of our entities at the Southern Baptist Convention. And those have all gone really well for him, right?
No, he's been given the runaround by the executive committee. And usually what happens, he makes a motion, it gets referred to the executive committee.
Is that true, Cal? Oh, is that why? I didn't know that. I didn't know he. Okay, so I guess what Cal's saying is that was a joke about that. I just assumed it was a shot at somebody. I don't pay attention to who's the chair.
The executive committee determines not to do anything about it. This year, Jeff York has announced that they're going to come up with it's not a business plan, but a new element that supposedly is going to highlight or give more transparency. I've read it. I don't think it does that. I think it's worse than what we got.
Yeah, I think Rhett makes that argument that it's actually worse than what we currently have.
Yeah, so I hope that'll be voted down, and that Rhett will be given an opportunity to make yet another motion. And when that motion is made, that we will override the attempt of the committee to kick it to the executive committee. And we say, no, we want to deal with this on the floor. That can be done because it was done when Grant Gaines had the weeping woman by his side and made that atrocious motion that we would supposedly, in the name of helping sex abuse survivors, which it didn't help any of them.
Prove it. Prove that it didn't help anybody. You know, I could think of some people who were hurt by one of the former SBC presidents that I bet it probably helped them, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it if you just help a few people. If we didn't find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. Well, also because you fought them tooth and nail about it. So maybe there would have been more that would have been found out if they were allowed to do their frickin' job, dude.
Wind up getting the SBC millions of dollars in debt.
$15 million, right?
At least. It's probably more than that. By hiring an LGBTQ affirming company to look into sexual abuse issues in the SBC and then giving them kind of blanket immunity from any kind of consequences of their actions.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why many, including ourselves, are so adamant that we need this.
I don't know who he's referring to, by the way, when he's like this blanket immunity. No idea what that means. If there was like wrongdoing from Guidepost, I have no idea. Or if he's talking about the task force, not sure what that meant. Don't know how to understand it.
Financial transparency within the SBC, because plays like that have led to horrible fiscal decisions on the part of the leadership of the convention. And man, all these things are connected, because I'm just thinking now, I mean, part of the reason why that motion from Grant Gaines passed, he certainly was playing on the emotions of the naturally sympathetic and gracious people of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Okay. That's how I took it. I took it as a shot at whoever it was. And like that they just like this Walker guy. I'm pretty sure Andrew Walker has done stuff with them as well. So like he's part of their camp. So
yeah, that's right.
Nobody wants sex abuse in the convention. Everyone wants to root that out wherever it is.
We just don't want to pay for it. Like, I guess that's the thing. Like, cause I don't know. Again, it's like, even if you thought Guidepost wasn't a great way to do that, wouldn't you come to the convention with, all right, well, we have a plan, a biblical plan for how to deal with the issue of abuse. But they never did that in like 4 or 5 years that we've been talking about this stuff. Like they have never brought like a positive plan to the table. It's just, I don't like that. I don't like it. It costs too much money, right, guys? Right? It costs too much money. We don't want to waste money. What about the missionaries? Well, come to the table with something else. They never have because they don't care. You can say, we want to get rid of abuse. And I'm sure, like within your church, if you found out that someone was abusive within your church, you would do something about that. I'm not saying that these people are like the cover up people. All right. But like you got to do something on a big scale. And obviously it is the will of the messengers, of the people there, of the people within these churches. They voted overwhelmingly to start this thing and then just got slowly pushed aside. You know, they want to talk about like, some of the transparency that needs to happen, some of the people who have been in charge of the SBC and how they've kind of dictated some things over the years. Well, they've done the same thing. It's just in like so much worse as far as like those people are talking about like they get into like Biden and like presidency stuff with the ERLC. Like that's the stuff that they're like, oh, how could you say that about Biden? Well, how could you not do something about abuse? Which one's worse, right? Like even if you don't like Biden, like they say like the worst president of all time. Okay, whatever. Right? You think that. Which one is worse? The worst president in the United States, okay, versus not doing a single thing about abuse. Which one of those do you want to go with? They just whenever we get talking about this topic, it shows just how fake these guys are. Tom Askell is one of them. And guys, I will never say what people say behind closed doors. All right, but I will just say it. There's a lot of people who don't like this guy. All right, there's a reason why Josh Bice decided to like make it his personal mission. Again, I'm not saying he was right to do it. All right, but there's always a reason why someone decides to like go at somebody. And I've heard from so many people that they do not, on a personal level, like they just do not like him. And you can see it here, like the way he describes Hannah Kate. The fake politeness that he deals with this issue of abuse. It's just not sitting right with me.
And so he makes this this emotional appeal, and part of that comes out of Russell Moore's comments from the ERLC and his slander and his lies towards the executive committee, towards Mike Stone, towards the SBC in general. And because his lies from his open letter on the way out of the ERLC were circulating, that gave fertile ground for Grant Gaines then to get to the mic with his weeping woman and make the motion that we give, at least $15 million into the air.
Yeah, that's right. It makes me want to say we got played.
Oh, he said it. The dumbest catchphrase of all time. The amount of times this guy says it is like, you know, like older pastors who have like a joke, and like the more you're around them, like they constantly say it more and more. That's what this is. Except for he said it in a documentary, and so he feels like it was a movie, like as if it's a thing that everybody knows. But it's only because he says it so much that people in at least these weird little circles that we're living in, like they know.
Which is exactly what happened. It was tragic. A lot of people back then who thought that was the right move and we were going down the right path have been awakened to the reality that no, we really did get played, and we got played to the tune of millions of dollars. We didn't help anybody. The things that we said we were doing were a little more than virtue signaling, and actually has damaged the SBC. And so if we don't have transparency coming forth, I'm convinced the cooperative program will die.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, this is essentially the pastor giving a message about politics like 2 days before the election. Like that's what this is. This is, hey, here's the game plan. Here's how you need to vote. And they're trying to sway all these voters to do what they want, right? Like that's what this clip is. But I bring it up and we're watching it because it is what these people are about. They are about manipulating people to get what they want, but also creating a little back narrative, like a background story that if this were to fail, the door is open. All right. They're going to start talking about how people are leaving the SBC, and it's about like the issue of transparency. I thought it was about like the topic of female pastors. I thought that's why they were leaving the SBC churches, or it's because of the millions of dollars that the SBC has used for abuse. And apparently that was meaningless and didn't help anybody, according to them. Well, like pick a lane, bro. Like what are you talking about? What's really going on here is that Tom Askell is saying, I need to be in control, or at least my line of thinking needs to be in control. And again, he tried to become SBC president and failed. And this sounds like a toddler who is taking their toys, throwing a tantrum, and going home. Like, it's either my way, we're going to play the game I want to play. And if we don't, well, then we're going to take our toys and we're going to leave. And it's that. That's what he's doing right here, because he's creating like this backstory that if things don't go the way that we want it to, then, the cooperative program will die. Are you serious? Like, check out the money that they have in the cooperative program. Has it taken a hit? Maybe. All right, but not to the tune of, it's dead. What? You're sending out hundreds of missionaries. What are you talking about? It's dead. The cooperative program is fully healthy. Go and look at the reports. All right, they might not tell you everything about every financial angle. And again, I'm all for transparency within the SBC. I want to know why Al Mohler has everything shelved within Southern Baptist Seminary. I want to know that. How much money does Al Mohler make a year? Like, because like you look at his study, and I'm telling you, man, it looks like the King of England. Like it's like one thing to have nice things, but like you've been an SBC president, or you've been the Southern Baptist Seminary president for the last 20 years. Why do you have all this stuff? Like, I guess some people will get stuff given to them. Yeah. Okay. Just I got a message about the boys' school, so always got to pay attention to those ones. But yeah, like that's kind of crazy that you have that extravagant of a life, and everything that he does is shelled within Southern Baptist Seminary. It's all under that umbrella, which means you don't get to know how much money he makes with all of his different ventures. I think that's weird. I think it's shady. I think that needs to be explored a little bit. Maybe Megan Basham should stop tweeting about Jennifer Lyle's death and maybe start looking into how much money Al Mohler makes. Maybe that would be worthwhile. But that's beside the point, I guess. But that's what I think. Like, transparency is good. And I don't fight them about that, but that's just them putting up another thing of being like, they're just moving the target and saying like, it's female pastors. And if we don't, say no to female pastors, then there's going to be a lot of churches that leave and maybe we're going to have a split. And they're like, we don't want female pastors. That goes through. Well, transparency. If we don't get transparency, there's people might leave. What they're saying is they already have a foot out the door. They are creating their own seminary. They just said it earlier. Vodi Bakum is going to be there signing Bibles, probably. Like he's going to be there smiling, taking pictures, being the guy so that they could all have all the 22-year-old dudes run over and fangirl out about Vodi Bakum being there. They're starting a seminary. Why? They already have seminaries. The SBC is filled with seminaries. Tom Askell, with his connections, could get plugged in at a seminary. Might not be one of the good ones, but he could definitely get plugged in. Like, he could go and teach at Southwestern if he wanted to. But what he's really doing is he's saying, like, we got a foot out the door. We're planning on leaving this thing. We don't get control. Well, we'll head elsewhere. And so this is a fight for them to control things. And if they don't, they're going to head out. And I don't say that with like, good riddance, like that the people within the SBC should be like good riddance. The SBC is a huge umbrella. It's a big old tent and lots of different people are in it. And there should be room, according to like the Baptist Faith and Message, for someone like Tom Askell and someone like, I don't know, fill in the blank with your favorite. Joe Thorne. He pops into my head. Ed Romine. There should be room for both of them. But when someone says like, it has to be my way, well, now we're talking about division. Because if it's not your way, what are you going to do about it? And this seems to be like his little subtle way of saying, this is what we're going to do about it.
It'll die. I don't know how many pastors, churches that I've heard from over I could just say a slice of any part of this last year. Churches that have left. We've lost a ton of churches because of this.
A lot of our friends are no longer SBC churches.
Yeah, and I can't talk them into staying. I mean, I get it. That's a conscious decision. But
see that? Like, he's softening to that position. Like, just like even in front of the camera, softening to that position of like, hey, if you got to go, you got to go. Not really fighting too hard. For someone who was running to be the president 2 years ago or whatever, it doesn't seem to fight too hard for why anyone should be in the SBC.
Churches have stayed in have quit giving to the cooperative program. They're giving around the cooperative program because of the ERLC, because of the lack of transparency. I've talked to trustees who said they don't know. They can't find out. They can't get the information to know how all the money is spent, where all the money comes from, and their entities, which they are supposed to be holding in trust for the convention.
Right. And that's what's the line is. Rep Burns gets up there, he makes his motion. We need 990 level transparency. We'll let the committee talk about that. Committee comes out and says, no, we have a trustee system, and the trustees keep the entities accountable. And it's not the job of the convention to keep the entities accountable. That's why we have the trustee system, and it works just fine. And these are faithful, godly pastors and church members.
If anyone's curious of what is a 990, let's just look up Founders, which I believe has one. Yeah. You can go on to ProPublica, and you can search basically all these institutions and see how much money they made as a 501c3. I will just point out, this is the revenue. You can't see it right here, but that says revenue. In 2023, it was $1.7 million for Founders, which is up. Guys, look at this. You can't see it's cut off there. 372,000 in 2019. 2020, 1 million. They grew from 400,000 to 1 million in revenue in 1 year, while there was a pandemic, while there was all this unrest, while they put out a documentary that put demon eyes on Rachel Denhollander. Interesting how that happens. And it's just grown. The more divisive they've been, the more they've grown to where they're at 1.7 million now. So just interesting, but yeah, that's what a 990 looks like, at least what you can get from a 990. It makes those things public.
So we're going to let them take care of it. And frankly, I'm all for the trustee system.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the trustee system is a good system because the convention, all the messengers of the convention cannot take out a microscope and look at every entity. However, the trustee system as it operates right now is broken.
Right.
It's not working. And
Right.
part of that is, the trustee system, the trustees are to be trusted by the messengers of the convention.
Yeah.
And there's so little trust in any of the leadership of the entities of the convention. That's why the messengers are calling for. That's why they're hungry for this financial transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think our trustees get the kind of training they need.
No.
I've talked to trustees who said that they were oriented by the very entity that they're supposed to be holding in trust for the churches. And so
Who else is going to do it? Like that, like I understand the point, but it's like, if you're talking about the SBC is like this convention that gets together, it is not a denomination, right? Well, that means that once the SBC annual meeting is done, technically the SBC doesn't exist. All right. Like, as far as like a place you could go to, like you got headquarters and people working on behalf of this convention, but it's not like the same thing as the denomination. That's what they love to say. But then they go like, oh, and that matters for them on the issue of abuse. But when it comes to training trustees, they're like, oh, they were trained by the people that they're supposed to be trustees of. As if like trustees aren't supposed to be like playing devil's advocate on behalf of like the messengers, like that. And by messengers, some people might be weirded out about that language, but that's what the members of the SBC are. When everybody gets over there in Dallas and they sign, I am this person from this church, they call them messengers. So essentially they're voters. So on behalf of them, they are to represent them to these entities like Southern Baptist Seminary, Southwestern Seminary. Like they each have trustees. And so who else is going to train them? And also, why not have them train them? Because it's their job. Like it's the thing that they're about. Who else will do it? Like what? Like I guess you could have them pay, some big highfalutin lawyer to come in and train these people on what they should know about all this stuff. And, take like 16 pastors from backwoods Alabama and like get them all in the same room and then do this training, how long is that going to take? Like these things are complicated things. So you got to learn while you're there. And so like, I get that there's a part of it that like, you got to train trustees, but like this whole thing of like, oh, it's like, oh, they're training them themselves. I wonder why that is. Because that's the only people who care.
One guy's example, he said, man, we were brought in, wined and dined, giving gifts, and said every year we go to the trustee meeting, that's the exact same way we're treated. It's just like we're VIPs on campus, and everybody knows we're there and treats us really well. And he said, I asked a couple of questions about, hey, where's this in the budget and where's the money come from? He said, this is a quote, I don't know where the money's coming from, but I know the money's flowing. Now that's a trustee of one of our entities in the SBC.
I would feel so insulted if I were a trustee. You come and you're wined and you're dined and you're taken care of, and it's just like smoking me.
Which Southern Baptist seminaries whining and dining? Like, is that Southeastern? Like, let's all admit it. We all know. We all knew the answer as soon as I asked it. It was Southeastern. They're whining and dining. Everyone else is grape juicing and dining. Grape juicing and potlucking.
Yeah.
Like, you're a bunch of idiots. We, as the leaders of this entity, are going to take care of things, and we'll give you what we think that you want so you don't keep asking questions.
Yeah.
It's just, man,
That's a pretty pessimistic view. Maybe they're just trying to be nice. Like, they're whining and dining us because we're dumb. I don't know. Sounds like they think you're important, but okay. You got to think there's an agenda behind it.
We need transparency.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that I've never told publicly before, and I'll try to be appropriately guarded and not revealing too many details about it. But there was one entity leader who got so upset with something that one of the trustees of his entity did publicly, wrote something that he actually said to a mutual acquaintance. That's grounds for firing a trustee. Now, if that doesn't tell you a little bit of the mentality of what's been going on in our SBC entities for now decades, then nothing will.
And the commercial.
My neighbors were so jealous when they saw my new windows. Little did they know we paid almost nothing for them.
They just always do it.
Dollar entities. And so there's a lot of a steep learning curve in terms of what are we looking at here?
I agree
How
with
does
them
this
on
work?
this
How should we
issue
be thinking about it? They need
financial transparency. I agree. I don't think it's the same as what they're saying, but I agree that there should be transparency. Honestly, it's super weird that there isn't. Like, everyone should know what these SBC presidents make a year. If you want to know how much Tom Askell makes a year from Founders, it's $90,000 as of 2023. So just in case anyone was wondering about that, I don't know how much he also gets paid to be a full-time pastor, but he gets paid $90,000 for hosting a podcast called Founders. Interesting.
Yeah, well, I can't say that because they have done some good things. They've been a voice for biblical morality in the public square in years past. It's been so long ago,
I was probably a baby.
Yeah, you probably were.
So
real accountability. I don't see a way forward apart from the convention demanding that our entities come clean with 990 level transparency. And if they're not willing to do that, I think we're just going to continue to see the same old bleed, and it'll get faster.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you want more information on this call for financial transparency, we did do an episode with Rhett Burns. We got into some more of the detail. It was a great conversation. If you go back and look in our archives on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts and find that episode, that'll be a good education for you going into the SBC on these issues.
That's correct.
The other issue,
here we go.
The other big important issue, which you spoke to last year, is the ERLC, which, I mean, as long as I've been in the SBC, has been just an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anything that the ERLC has done ever that I know of that I'm excited about.
Yeah, well, I can't say that because they have done some good things. They've been a voice
That's when like the kid gets in and he's like, they've always been the worst. And like Tom Haskell's like, oh, we shouldn't say that. I might say that to you behind closed doors. We shouldn't say that one. They've done some things. Also, like you've been in the SBC for like 4 years, so.
Or biblical morality in the public square in years past. It's been so long ago,
I was probably a baby.
Yeah, you probably were. So I get that. Yeah, and even now, the public relations tour that Brent Leatherwood and others are taking, look at what the ERLC is doing. We're calling for the ban on pornography. Well, praise God. Dusty Deaver's been doing that for over a year since he's been senator.
State senator. They always want to do this thing and make Dusty Deavers like so much more important, but he's a state senator. So calm down. All right. Like this whole thing of like, he's not going to Washington,
Oklahoma, and he didn't get any help.
Why is it 2025 and we're finally doing that?
Because there's the convention's coming up. And last year, about 40% of the messengers off on a whim voted to defund the ERLC. And so now then, they got pastors going in DC.
Whose whim?
That's mine, I guess. Yeah, I'm literally walking past a microphone. I had no plan to do that, but just was grieved. I just listened. We had an event that Megan Basham spoke at, and she was just talking about her book, which had not come out yet, but I'd read the manuscript of Shepherds for Sale. And she's talking about the ERLC a lot in that event. And so I'm walking back into the hall and I'm grieved. And there's a mic. I thought, we've got a provision in the Constitution and bylaws of the SBC. It's article number 25 in the bylaws that's for the abolishment of entities. And so I just read that bylaw and said I would like to make a motion to abolish the ERLC. And, I wasn't premeditated. I think it was right.
I think that tells you everything you need to know about Tom Haskell. Did you not hear? I was grieved. Okay, you could use biblical language, but you were ticked. You were upset. And, the weeping woman, that's the worst. But you being grieved means that you get to just fly off the handle. And there was just a mic there. No, there wasn't. The SBC doesn't have like mics like hanging around in the hallway, I just like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and like right outside the bathroom, there's a microphone, or I'm going to go get a hot dog or something. I don't know. I'm thinking of a stadium now, but like, there's just a microphone there. No, like you went up to the microphone. Why were you there? That's a lie. Like, that's just a straight up lie. You might not have meant to be like, I'm going to talk about this. But that is just like super deceitful to be like, I was just, I was grieved by what I was hearing. And so I just, there was a mic there and I just thought, I'm going to read this. No, you probably did think about it. Maybe not in that moment of like, this is why I'm going to the microphone right now. But you were at the microphone to say something and you decided to do that. And even if his story that he is telling is truthful, doesn't that scare you? That this guy can just get ticked and say, oh, I think that we should demolish like this entire thing of the ERLC and all these people should be fired because of a whim, because he was grieved. That, I think, tells you everything about how thoughtful this guy is. Either it's super deceitful or it's like without any thought. And either of those cases is terrible. I am so glad that this guy was never voted in as SBC president. And he has only shown over the years, and specifically this last year, and specifically even like the last few months, like everything with this Josh Bice story, the way he is playing victim and literally using the word victim to like talk about himself and try to use this thing is super manipulative. The guy is a manipulator. And here he is again manipulating people into being like, I just thought maybe we should get rid of the whole thing. It's like, I just read the thing. And the microphone was just standing there. Like, I just found it. No, there weren't 30 other people waiting at the microphone like there always is in all of the video that you ever see at the SBC. It was just me and the microphone hanging out. So I decided on a whim, because I was grieved, to try to get rid of the ERLC completely and fire everybody. And these people would be without jobs. And just because I was angry. Okay. Not something I think you would want to put on a podcast, but shows really what your heart is. So what do you do about these things if you're in the SBC? Don't listen to Tom Askell. Like, follow your conscience. You might agree with some of the things that Tom Askell is saying as far as like what they're trying to accomplish. Again, financial accountability, I think, is great. Transparency, that I've been saying that needed to have happened years ago, but they just haven't. And the kicking it around from the SBC executive committee, I think he is right. Like, you need to have people from the stands there, the crowd, the peasants. They need to revolt against the SBC executive committee and try to get this thing done, because it's become clear that the SBC executive committee, they are not willing to have that kind of transparency, which either means that they know that there's going to be something, or it's just going to create headaches for these SBC entities, which either case is wrong. Like, these SBC entities, they could get things together. They have a lot of money. It's fine. Like, they'll be able to hire some people and get their books in order to be able to show. But I think they're scared of what people will let out of the bag with that thing. But I think that that's true. The ERLC, I don't really have a horse in that race. I don't care. I don't think they do a lot of good. I think people hate Brent Leatherwood because he likes Russell Moore. And because Russell Moore, they can't punch him anymore. They just punch the guy who's in his place. I don't think these people probably know anything about Brent Leatherwood as a person, but they don't care. It's just his position and the fact that he was Russell Moore's right-hand guy. So I think that part, if they want to get rid of it, fine. I don't really see any huge issue with that. And then there is like this law amendment, which is the motion that was made about female pastors. Now they want it clearly said that they can't be called pastor, because some people were getting all, is he a pastor? Is she not? Like, whatever, like those kinds of things. So they really want to be definitive about that. Honestly, I don't care. Like, these are all topics that don't matter, or like don't matter as much, but what they're trying to do. I think it was Heidi who asked, are they just trying to undermine the SBC? Let me go up a little bit more. You guys have been very talkative. That's great. Great to see. Yeah. It is. It is them trying to undermine the leaders in the SBC and create division, because they think that it's necessary, because they think that in order for them to be about the gospel, they have to get, past some of this stuff, and they want the money. Like, I think what's really happening here is that they're creating transparency to know which organizations have the money. And then eventually we'll see a split. I don't like to say it, but I think at this point it's become very clear that there will be some significant split. I don't think it's going to be as big. Like, if you had asked me like 2 years ago about like the size of the split, I don't think it's going to be as big as it used to be. But I think there probably will be like an entity or two that goes with a group. And, so I think that's really what's going on. It'll be interesting to see. Someone asked me also, which my mouse went away. Okay, there it is. Someone asked me if I'll be streaming about the annual meeting. I might. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Tomorrow's pretty busy, and that's where a lot of like the businessy stuff will be going on. So not sure about that. I'm realizing that this is. Let's go like that. Okay. Probably won't be streaming tomorrow, but I might do like a catching up on all of it stuff. There's one more thing that I wanted to discuss. I alluded to it earlier. Let's go. I already had it up, but then all of my Safari stuff went away for some reason. I didn't do it. Someone stole it. I'm going to blame Stephanie. Stephanie Collins, it's your fault. I don't know how, but it is. And I'm sorry I called you out, but you were the first name that I saw in the chat. Let's go here. This one's hard. Jennifer Lyle passed away. I think it was yesterday. If you don't know who that is, Jennifer Lyle was one of the first women to come out and talk about abuse that happened to her from an SBC employee. While she was an SBC employee, she was working at Lifeway and was, I mean, on a track, man. Like you could see it. Like she was attached to a lot of like the most popular works at Lifeway, writing there. She was making money there. She had a career. She had a legit career and a great career path. And she lost her job because she came forward. And then she got all kinds of bullying online. And I'll put it that way. Because again, guys, we all know what happens every November with the Doug Wilson fanboys. We know what happens with a lot of these anonymous trolls now, but we also know what happens with some of these SBC pastors. And if you're like, oh, how can you say that? There's so much proof out there of SBC pastors saying the most awful things to victims of abuse. It's like, and it's not all of them, but there are some. All right. Rod Martin, one of the guys who was in charge of the SBC for a very long time, mover and shaker, Moneybags, Mr. Moneybags, said all kinds of awful things about victims of abuse. And there's tons of people like that in the SBC. And so she was bullied online for a very long time, and then she passed away. And a lot of people are saying like, hey, she was 47 years old. But because of all the hardships that she went through over the last few years, to where she had to get rid of her social media completely, because there was just so many people that were coming at her all the time, reporters who were coming at her all the time, that she just had to like leave public life, not because she was scared of what they might uncover or say, but just because of the pressure of people being like, oh, you're a liar. Oh, you're this. All the typical things that get called by that victims get called when they come forward with anything. And it happens every single day. And she is one of the sad stories of that, in that she has passed away at a pretty early age, and probably connected to a lot of the stress. We all know stress has a huge factor on our health. Anyone who has suffered from panic attacks knows that. Like you can't really process things the same. And so it becomes a huge factor in your life. And so she passed away. And here comes Megan Basham. Basham. I don't really care what her name is. Just a horrible woman. I'll say it. Like, she is just terrible. I don't understand why anyone would do this. Horrific. Despicable. There's a thesaurus. You can go on to Despicable. Look at the thesaurus.com, Despicable. Put in all those words here. Like, it's just awful. So Jennifer Lyle's death is tragic, and I pray for her loved ones hurting today. And I pray we will meet again as sisters in heaven one day. That could have been a great place to stop, but she doesn't. But it is reckless and gross for French and Kristen Dumais to use her death from stroke for their political purposes. They have not shown that anyone hounded her, and they have not disputed any of the facts that made her story questionable. If anyone has shown their callousness and hunger for power, it is those who use the untimely stroke death of a 47-year-old woman to advance their narrative. Where to even start with this? She was hounded. I'll start there. It's just false. For someone who claims to be a reporter, again, who was a movie blogger. She is not a journalist. She was a movie blogger, and she was bad at it. Like, just straight up. You can go and read those. She would make all these weird connections. I've read some of them. Her movie takes were awful. But, in the Christian world, if you can talk and type out, these things about movies, you could get in there. Look at TGC and all their stuff about movies. Not great, but they keep on coming because they get clicks. So she was doing that. And for someone who claims to be a reporter, she just consistently gets the facts wrong. It's obvious from just look online. And it's so weird because Meghan has probably gotten this, right? Like she has probably gotten this as a woman on the internet. It's so disingenuous for her to be like, they haven't shown any proof that she was hounded. She exists. And there's this thing called the internet. And she was on it for a little bit talking about how she was abused by someone in power within the SBC. Yeah, she was hounded. It's very clear. Does she have to give you each and every tweet that came at her? Be serious. But what she's really talking about is probably like the journalist angle, because Kristen Dumais wrote a little thing about how a lot of the journalists that came at her were asking hard questions, and it's overwhelming when you get that for the 1,000th time for 15 years. It's a long time. And that's a lot of questions. And so she put something like that in her post, and Meghan read herself into the story. Definitely a great thing to do. And so she read herself into that and said, "It's not my fault. No one said it's your fault. It's a cumulative effect of stress in someone's life that probably results in something that's similar to this." Now, I don't know whether it's the actual reason, but it's definitely something that would attribute to her health condition. And that's all that was said. And, again, talking about Jennifer, her whole life was this. Because again, she lost her job, she lost her career path. She lost a lot of what she was building in her life because she came forward. Because she was actually brave, unlike me, joking about it at the beginning. She was actually brave and courageous, and spoke up for people, and became someone that other people could look up to and know, all right, well, if she's going to come out with her story, maybe I can too. She actually did that, and it cost her almost everything. And that's what Kristen Dumais was saying. And for her to come out and be like, let's make this about me, is the grossest thing I've seen on the internet in a very long time. But I don't know what to expect from this woman anymore, because she just constantly proves to be awful and to always find the worst angle to come at something and then be like, why are you all mad at me? Even if this was something that you think needed to be addressed, which isn't true, that's probably more just self-guilt than lashing out than anything else. I don't think anyone read what Kristen Dumais wrote and was like, I think this was about Meghan. So they're probably talking about how sad it is that Jennifer died. But you couldn't let people just rest in that and think about her, could you? It's the worst. The internet is the worst. And the people who continue to try and when I'm talking about the internet, I'm talking about X. I don't think anyone who got famous on X is living a healthy life. I just don't see how it's possible. That website promotes the worst and elevates the worst voices. And I think it's a net negative on the world at this point. It used to be fun. It used to be a good corner of the internet where people would just talk about things. Then it became yelling about things. And then it became yelling about people. And now it just seems like a void of hatred. And whoever can be loudest in the void of hatred gets to rise to the top of the void and rule it. And seems like the Joel Webbins of the world, the Megan Bashams of the world, are perfectly content always going low and continuing to give the worst takes on the internet, especially for a Christian. Again, you should have stopped with your first paragraph. Yeah, so she is the worst.
Big yikes.
But you guys aren't. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. Got a couple minutes here. I'm not going to go all the way because you guys have been talking a lot, and unfortunately, it would take me a very long time. All right. I'm not again requesting a "we got played" soundbite. Right? Like, maybe. It's just so annoying whenever I hear it. This threatening the CP is an outrage, right? This aggression will not stand. Yeah, I hope it doesn't, but it seems like a lot of people in the SBC get all upset about people saying those kinds of things, then they don't do anything about it. Where are the people asking about what kind of connection should the SBC have to Founders when Founders is starting a competitive seminary? Or like not that it will actually be competitive, sorry. But like a seminary that would be a different seminary than the SBC. Where are those people? No one's asking that question. Why not? Shouldn't people, think about how the guy who ran for SBC president and lost is now starting a seminary that's not within the SBC. And when he talked about it in his promotional little video about it, he did not even mention the SBC, but he mentioned ABWE. Isn't that odd? No one wants to talk about that? Okay. The president of my SBC seminary said he gets catalogs of books and they tell him to circle what he wants. They just send them to get them maybe in the seminary. Yeah, well, there's a lot of money to be had for sure if they can get them into the seminary, get them into the bookstore. Those nerds, I love their books. Meg Bash won't. Oh, I get what she did there. Won't because she cares more about Gavin Ortland not responding to an obscure article on CT than she does about people getting abused in the church. Seems like it. Don't you dare say that about Southwestern. That's a seminary of my people. I'm just saying, like Tom Haskell could teach there. I think that's pretty much the only seminary that would really want him, though. Like they would want him. Southwestern, they would. Is there black or white smoke coming from the roof now? I'm so confused. What kind of smoke would it be? It's just going to be Clint's going to get up there and they're going to vote for SBC president by clapping. It's just say you have 2-year terms. All right. Like this whole, like, we're going to vote. It's not a vote. All right. If the SBC prioritized discipleship and taught the importance and joy of spreading the gospel, the CP would be fine. Right. And it is. Like, maybe not for the reasons you're saying, but just like in general, like the cooperative program is fine. Him being like, lots of people are giving away. Yeah. Like to the 6 people you talk to, maybe like the 6 churches that you talk to the most. Like, yeah, they aren't giving anymore. A lot of our friends have left. Yeah, well, you don't have a lot of friends. Like there's still 47,000 churches in the SBC. Is it shrinking? Sure. I watched the like little was it New York Times or someone did like a video essay on the SBC and it's shrinking. But no person brought up that people are actually taking their membership role seriously. Like that's why the SBC is shrinking, people, not because they're not like preaching the gospel anymore. Maybe some aren't, but like the vast majority of them are. They might not do everything you want, but they are preaching the gospel. And so like they're still reaching people, but they're actually taking their membership role seriously, which so many churches, not just the SBC, just don't. They have members on there who've been long dead, like, and the deacons are like, well, get to it. Like that's how it is at churches. So like now there's been like this real, like, hey, we need to make sure that members are members and all of that. And so, yeah, there are thousands of people who are leaving, but it's not because they've chosen a different faith or something or a different church. It's because they died. Or they haven't gone to that church for a very long time. It's nothing recent. These guys are absolutely trying to undermine. Oh, that's who it said. And throw shade at the SBC. There's an agenda behind it. I believe so. I do believe that. Because they're trying to they're trying to play it smart both ways, right? If they win, great, they get power. If they lose, okay, well, we're already starting our seminary. And we can look good and say we're leaving, make it a big deal so that others leave with us. And that's the thing. Like, You want to talk about being divisive? They made, like, again, that huge case against Josh Bice and him being divisive and slanderous online. Again, I'm not saying he wasn't, but what are you trying to do here? You're trying to win people over to leave their denomination, and not over theology, because the theology, they're not even really talking about. They already won that stuff. All right. They won that stuff. The female pastor thing, they won that. It's not about theology. It's about money now. All right. If you're leaving about money, that's not good. That's not good. You need to figure out how to win from inside, that is not a good enough reason that you don't know where the money is going. And that's why you're leaving the SBC. Not a good enough reason. You need to figure it out. You need to get some people together, get some accountability, get some transparency going on, do what needs to be done. Work hard within the SBC to do that. But these people want to leave. And so it's just now that's their backup plan. I'm Baptist and have no problem drinking wine. Right? Honestly, Tom Askell and company leaving could likely be an improvement. Would it be an improvement in the peace within the SBC? Probably. But do you want to see it happen? No. Because again, the whole idea of the Southern Baptist Convention is that they're uniting around the gospel. And again, it's a huge tent, a lot of different points of view. And everyone's been fine for the last 50 years with that. But in the last 10, it's been a lot of division. And I guess 20 years ago with all the conservative stuff, there's been some times when it comes up again. But it's a big tent. And if they start leaving because of this, people will start leaving for other reasons. The SBC will then be in trouble as not a denomination, a convention. I am reading it as they want to leave. They want to criticize, but trying to get a sense of how many others they could bring with them. Exactly. They're trying to gather resources, essentially, probably for their seminary. Devers is assistant to the regional manager. No, but he's assistant to the Christian Prince. All right. Well, they all want him to be. I was literally typing this tells you what you need to know about Tom. I just found this unattended microphone. LOL. I was just there. I was eating my corn dog, and I look over, and there's a microphone, and I was mad, so I say something. Oh, okay. You mean in the center? Because they have the SBC is so big, these annual meetings, you got thousands and thousands of people there. And so this in the stadium, they have the center row is usually where they have the microphone. So it's a walking distance from probably where you're sitting. I was just there. I don't know. I was just eating my corn dog. Why do you like corn dogs so much? I don't know. They're just real good. We want to talk about virtue signaling, efforts to ban our DOA. It's protected by the First Amendment and that they aren't changing and they know that. Yeah, but it sounds real good. You're right. It sounds super good to be I'm against the thing that all the Christians are against. Uh-huh. Okay. This microphone that you gave to me made me speak. Then I spoke. All right, it's evil all of a sudden. It's Adam, not Eve. Okay, I know stuff. I would love some sources on the lies they accused Russell Moore of telling. They felt like a flippant throwaway line that really was some teeth. Yeah, again, they will slander Russell Moore. And what? I just don't even get it. Russell Moore, when he left the SBC, honestly, it was pretty weak. The things that he's come out and said about the SBC, he could have said a ton more. And I think he should have. And they still hate him for it. They hated him while he was at the SBC, and they hate him after. And they'll hate him forever. And honestly, it's just I don't even get it. What did Russell Moore ever do except for the MLK 50 thing? That's the biggest thing. But what did he actually do to you guys to hurt you so bad? It's, I don't know, man. It's what did Russell Moore say about your mom? You're just going to hold this grudge forever. I have no idea. Did you guys meet behind Kmart and did he get beat down? What happened? I miss Kmart. Blue light special. I would love some sources. Oh, yep. I already read that. These people complain all the time about big government, and I agree with them. But what about big church? Yeah, but here's the deal. Like, there should be some accountability. Like, is it explicitly biblical? No, I don't believe, like, you got like people who would jump to, like, what is it, Acts 15? And you got like, is it Acts 15? I think it is, where you have the people, the Judaizers who were messing things up, and they have to go back to Jerusalem, and so they have representatives of different churches go to Jerusalem, get word from the apostles, and bring it back to the people. People go like, "Oh, that's like a form of hierarchy within the church." I don't know if we'd go that far because they were apostles, like they was chosen by Jesus specifically and physically. Were you? Like, no, probably not. So not the same thing, but I do think that it's wise to have some form of hierarchy, in that you can say this is what we're about as an association, and like, you can choose to be associated with that, so you could choose to leave. Every local church, I believe, should be autonomous, which means self-ruling, that they should make a decision about what they want to do, who they want to be associated with, who is in line with their beliefs, and if they're in a denomination, they can choose to associate there. But there should be some strings attached to that of, all right, you can be associated with us, but that also means that we think things should be done in this way, and we're all in agreement about that, and so everything happens in that way. There's organization that happens with that, and I think that's healthy and good. And a lot of times the random churches that have no associations, the independent fundamental Baptists, the random basically charismatic but they go by non-denominational churches, like, you have some issues that probably wouldn't be issues, but because they're all on their own, they're maverick churches, like, they just have stuff that happens. I'm not saying they all do, but they're more inclined to have that kind of stuff happen. And some of it is just silly. And if they were connected to a denomination, maybe they would have some of that kind of rooted out. Things like hiring the wrong guy. If they had like a denomination where there was an expectation of some kind of credentials, like maybe that wouldn't happen as much, stuff like that. But that's just my opinion. Don't burn me at the stake for it. But if you gotta burn me, I guess you could burn me there. Virtex says, I read her book, Shepherds for Sale. It is eye-opening how politics and money are breaking the Southern Baptists in the pursuit of causes that make more money for social justice. I would take anything that woman has read with a grain of salt. Again, movie blogger. Like, this whole journalist thing, let's be clear. She had no idea what happened at Mars Hill. All right. If you don't know what happened at Mars Hill and you want to write and talk about evangelicals, I just don't trust you. I don't trust you to know what you're talking about. You came into this room 5 minutes ago. All right. Like, I mean, some people catch up fast, but it doesn't seem like that's her. Thank you, Dean, for saying this about Basham. She truly, I don't want to call her names, but I understand where you're coming from. Like, as far as like, she is a noun. I think she's a terrible person. I do. Like, for this stuff, I know she's going through her own stuff. Maybe that's something else. She has cancer. Like, maybe there's some stress going on. And that's why she wrote what she wrote. But still, there's no excuse for that kind of stuff. The woman passed away. Like, you had to make it about you. You had to go into it in this way. Not cool. Basham has proved over and over that she cares about building her platform and pretty much nothing or no one else. Really poor taste. True. Accurate. She's done that on X over and over and over again. And it's just, it's terrible. If you see Basham on X, you can't trust her anywhere else. Yeah. I used to respect so many of these people. Hard to see what seems to be money and power changing them. Yeah, there was a time where I was like, "Oh, Founders is pretty good." Like, they were like, they only had like 4 or 5 books at the time, and they were pretty good. They were all about, like, getting the 1689 to people and all that stuff. When it was about that thing, like, cool. But they changed. They changed in a big way. You could see it financially. You could see why they changed. Because all of a sudden, you stop talking about the boring stuff of 1689, Second London Baptist Confession stuff. All of a sudden, now you're talking about social justice stuff, and the money goes through the roof. And isn't that convenient? It's interesting how those things go hand in hand. Looks like Tom and Vody are going live soon. Oh, great. Everyone's so excited. Just got a picture with Bart Barberdine. You should have had me streaming in the background, like hold up a phone. I could have been in the picture, but that's cool. Bart seems like a fine guy. Seems like a decent pastor. Like I haven't listened to a ton of sermons other than ones that he gave as president. Seems fine. A little bit of a smart aleck, like, in an odd way, like, kind of a quirky fella, but I don't think he's a bad guy. At this point, Russell Moore has wisely moved on from the SBC, right? What a shame to have grown up in that and to have given so much of your life to it, to only have people hate you for almost no reason. It's kind of crazy. And again, I'm not saying he's the best either. Like, honestly, like, I just don't get it. Why people are so either like no one's really for him anymore, which is odd. The people who work at Christianity Today, I guess. But like, why there's so much hate, I just don't understand it. I would like to see a pasta dinner. I thought you were saying pastor, but a pasta dinner with Tom Askell and Dean. No. Hard pass. That seems like the worst time ever. I really, just on a personal note, I don't like people who think they're charismatic and aren't. Like, I don't think I'm very charismatic. I could turn it on for a camera. But like in person, I'm pretty low key and chill. I don't like the people who have like 20 rehearsed stories. I just don't get along with those people. And he seems like that kind of guy. He's got 30 stories that he has rehearsed, and he wants to see you laugh at the punchline. And I'm just going to stare at him because I didn't want the story to start. And here you are at the end after 5 minutes, and you're waiting for me to smile at you, but I just don't want it. I never wanted this. So, no thanks. I ain't having him over, and definitely not by candlelight. What are you doing? Nope. I agree. I think if we aren't using our church organization to maintain accountability, then what's the point of organizing? Yeah, fair point. Film for the channel, meal to be served by Russ Moore and Dougie Willie. Oh, wow. There'd be beard hairs in it. No. Cal, you lost your mind, man. I don't know what's going on to you, but that ain't happening. I'm not a Basham defender per se, but I did notice in the tweet about Mars Hill, she said that she was revisiting it. I think she had already heard it, but was listening again, just trying to be fair. I don't know. It came across like she had some other tweets, like, because I get it. Like, she did say revisiting, but I think she was like coming back to the podcast for another episode. I think that's what she meant by revisiting, because later she had some other posts that it was very clear. And she was even admitting, I wasn't around for what was going on with Marcel, or I didn't know what was going on at Marcel. And if you had already listened to the podcast, then you would have known, or at least known what was being said about Marcel. So I think she just came into it. But a lot of people have zero clue what happened about Marcel, except maybe those of us who are former members. But you guys were swayed. Yeah, you guys didn't know what was going on because you didn't have the Holy Spirit, not like Mark. So that's why, Jack. Yeah, it's pretty belittling, and I even saw that like with people responding to her being like, "I was there," and she was okay. I'm from the Seattle area and don't know the full story of Mars Hill. You can listen to the podcast. I think it's actually worthwhile, especially the first 3 or 4 episodes. After that, it kind of gets into this pattern, kind of loses a little bit. But it's overall, it's well produced and has a lot of good things to say. The thing about the abuse report that was so controversial is that some of it was legit abuse and some of it was sexual being called out, and that was called abuse, including LGBT stuff. Yeah, that's the thing with the whole topic of abuse. It becomes. I was just talking about this with somebody. I was having dinner last night with some people and talking about this actually. But like the topic of abuse is so multifaceted for so many reasons. But one of them is that when you start talking about abuse, some people read into the silly stuff. All right. And some people will again get mad at me, but the new evangelicals thing of him driving too fast and calling that abuse, to me, that's silly. Um, and I think a lot of people look at that and they go like, "Oh, that's abuse." Oh, sure. Like that's what you mean. And they like put that in the category as like this blanket statement for whenever someone talks about abuse. And so, but there's serious stuff. There's real serious stuff that happens. There's some stuff that is not as serious. There's some stuff that is more serious, some stuff that's illegal, some stuff that's not illegal. And some of that might fit the category of abuse. Some of it might just be sexual sin. And I think you are right about that. But it's about the power dynamics, usually, when it comes to the abuse thing. And you can be guaranteed if you're talking about that Johnny Hunt stuff, that is sexual abuse. 100%. And that's usually what people are talking about when they start getting into it. How come G3 isn't live at the SBC today? I wonder why. What's going on? Has anyone heard from them? I will just say it's kind of interesting to me that if you go on the website, G3, Scott Annual and Virgil Walker haven't written anything in a while. I don't know if that's just because they're, like still reeling from the loss of Josh or whatever, but they're not because Virgil has been writing, I think, at least once a day, if not more than that, on his Substack and wanting people to go to that. So I think you're starting to already see some people diversify and try to grow their own platforms elsewhere, whether that's through, the ideas of how to worship as a family like Scott, or writing about random weirdness like Virgil. It's interesting. I'm just joining, but when did the ERLC defund push start last year? I was in the convention 2022 and we were voting on it then, right? It's just like last year he did it, and so he wants to get the credit for it if it happens. I'm crashing out, Dean. LOL. My bad about calling her a ghoul, but that was terrible. Yeah, what she said was terrible. But yeah, we gotta be respectful in how we deal with it. I think using adjectives is a way better way than using nouns. She is a woman, so I can say I think she's a horrible woman. I think like that's as far as I'll get, and as mean as I'll get probably ever about anybody on this. But I just think it's in such bad taste, and it's the exact reason. You want to talk about like why survivors don't come forward, why they keep quiet, and why the SBC isn't doing anything. That's the kind of treatment that you get when you die. When you die and everyone's saying nice things about you, like the people who love you are saying nice things, you still get hate. You still have people making it like this point of contention when it should just be, "Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that she passed." It says that's as much as you needed to do. But there she is to make it about her. Dean, I asked the Canadian Baptist Theological Seminary if they knew the famous Dean Lantini, and they said no. No, it's been a while since I was around in that world. But yeah, well, the one guy that I knew was pretty close in there and was in Cochrane. He moved out east, so they wouldn't know me. Nobody knows me. Where's everyone watching SBC conference live stream? Seriously asking. Where is everyone watching SBC conference live stream? SBCannualmeeting.net, I think is the website. And then there's a button. I think the G3 are laying low since they're like, yeah, I was kidding, by the way. But I hope that came through. I know why they're not reporting there or like saying stuff. But as a Californian, not really that bad. We have some protests here in Fresno, but these aren't even in the same realm as the post Rodney King riots in my lifetime. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on over there. Bobby, just got here. Have we talked or are we talking about the Michael Tate allegations? Not SBC related, but a great stain on the name of Christ. Yeah. I'm not, I don't know. It's not really my world. So I didn't know if I should talk about it. Like, I know it would get views, you put something that salacious on a thumbnail and like you'll get views, and there are people who've already made their videos. But I was just like, I don't know, who cares what my opinion is? But since you asked, yeah, it's pretty gross. Pretty gross. As a DC Talk fanboy from back in the day, it's disappointing. Not super surprising in that there's a lot of shady stuff that happens with money involved and like the artists and all of that. Yeah, it's weird. Now the Newsboys, they've come out and said that they didn't know anything, but then there's a few people that say like, "Oh, I heard whispers of it," and that they confronted him, and every time he said it wasn't him. If there were multiple people coming forward about this kind of stuff, I think you cut them loose. Like, I know that there's money involved in contracts and stuff, but if it's one thing when like some random person comes up and says something crazy and you're just like, what, is that true? And they're like, no, man, like there are people who exist to say crazy things. But if there's another person who says something that's pretty similar to what you thought was a crazy person saying something crazy, then maybe you need to do some investigating. Like, and it didn't sound like they did that. They just took his word for it, and that's not good. That's no bueno. He hurt a lot of people apparently, and that's terrible. But I mean, like, it's sin. It's sin. I think there will be people who will question whether it's abuse, at least as far as like what has been reported. Because was there a power dynamic? Is, being a rock star a power dynamic? I don't know. That's something that people smarter than me will have to debate. But I go, it's sexual sin at the very least, and it's awful, and it should have been found out probably a lot earlier. And if they maybe in those worlds, you got to take that stuff way more seriously than they do, and not just take someone's word for it. If it's like, again, like the second time, it's not like these people colluded and we're like, oh, let's make up this thing about him. And you have like multiple people coming forward and you're still like, oh, we just asked him about it. Every time it would happen, we would ask him about it. That's not good enough. But that's just my opinion. Wild that this is the second time a Newsboys lead singer quietly left due to potential scandal. Last was John James. Yeah, well, fame brings opportunity for more sin that was already present, right? Like, I don't think that it's like the same as like, oh, he got famous and that's what opened the door for Satan to use. I don't buy that. I think that like you already were having those kinds of thoughts, desires, and then you got famous and you could act on them a little bit more easily, or had more opportunity. Could it be perhaps that SBC is using the frivolous or controversial SA allegations as a scapegoat for avoiding dealing with real serious abuse? Right. Yeah. That's 100% what it is. It seems like the SBC will find any reason possible to not deal with it. Yeah. And now they're just doing, like, at first it was, we need to find a better way, or we need to deal with better allegations or whatever, and then it just transitioned into, we're not talking about it anymore, we need to deal with these things. These are the things that matter. Money is what matters. Of course it is. It wasn't abuse necessarily because of a power dynamic. It was literal abuse because it was done while the people were either asleep, intoxicated, or hadn't given consent. Oh, okay. I didn't read everything. So, another reason why I'm not talking about it is like a full thing on a podcast. I haven't done any research into it. I saw the headlines and was like, oh, gross, and read a little bit, but I didn't go that deep. Yeah, that's abuse. LA is a war zone. The governor and mayor don't want the National Guard. Pray for us. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on down there. As someone, from the Pacific Northwest, we know how that goes too. So definitely praying for you. All right, we're going to head out. I hope that this was entertaining. Oh, wait, before we do that, as I have 83 people here, let me get something. There's something I need to remind you about. It's important. It's very important. Some might say it's the most important. Let me go here. Let me go. Is that muted? It is muted. Okay, so I can find the spot. Just give me 1 second here. It's very important. Stay with me, okay? Let me go here. I think it's. Just give me a sec. All right. Super important. Thanks for staying with me. Here it is.
Let's join our tongues together as we sing, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing."
What? What did he say?
Let's join our tongues together as we sing, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing."
Blame Heidi.
You know how they're like, oh, we want to do worship workshops? I think they need to do some of those workshops. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, it's everyone makes mistakes. I get it. And you're nervous because you're in front of a lot of people.
Just play the clip, dude.
But
Let's join our tongues together as we sing, "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing."
it's still good. Yeah, it's still good.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Underdogs. Just reminding you that was at a G3 conference. Like, when was this? I streamed this. Let's go. Can I see it? Oh no, it went away. I want to see what day it was. They just do like that summary, and then you got to go hit more. Find out. September 25th, 2023. That's when that was streamed. G3, you'll be missed. Not because of actual stuff, but just for that clip. Let's join our tongues together and sing. And then it looked like he looked over for approval. Like, that was good, right? that was a pretty good one. A good transition. No, it was not. All right. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.